So a conversation that has dominated the news cycles over the past, God, I don't know how long. It's a nauseating subject to me. And now we're talking about it here on XFL Chalk Talk. But it ties into the XFL in many ways. And that's paying players for their likeness, or should the schools pay players, college athletes, in all these NCAA universities. And recently, the state of California came out, what was it, about a month ago or so, guys? And said that in 2023, they're going to start allowing players in California colleges and universities to go out and make money on their name, on their likeness. So what does that mean? Like, Kenny, you can help me out with some of this, but like maybe an endorsement deal. Like if they want to give, like if a golfer wants to give golf lessons, he can make money off of that. So things like that.
Yeah, essentially you're able to earn money off of yourself, which you can't do right now as an NCAA athlete. And one of the biggest examples was the kicker from UCF a couple of years ago had his own YouTube channel that he monetized, and it really was like his everyday life, like it was a vlog, and he got enough subscribers to where he monetized it, and the NCAA made him, or tried to make him, take it down just because he was wearing a UCF football shirt. Like he wasn't talking about UCF football, like he wasn't promoting really UCF football, but he would occasionally, because he's on the team, wear UCF merch. And then they said, well, you're using that to gain followers, to gain subscribers, so you have to take your channel down or you're going to be ruled ineligible. Well, he decided to quit the team because he was making a ton of money a month to do it. So it eliminates that, really. Like that's the biggest thing, is you can now use your likeness like every other college student can and make money off of it and monetize it.
The craziest part to me is, though, like, so this has nothing to do with the schools paying the student athletes. This is the student athlete having the opportunity to go out and make money based on their name recognition and whatnot, by themselves. And the NCAA initially came out strongly against this, as you would expect they would. But like just a few days ago, they kind of did a complete 180. And it sounds like they're kind of, trying to beat California to the punch almost. I think, 2021, guys, that they're saying is the time frame of they're going to allow players to do essentially the same thing that California legislator was suggesting, and allow players to make money off of their likeness. So, obviously being an XFL channel, we want to go over how does this affect the XFL, because one of their big, I guess, selling points was that, unlike the NFL where you have to be enrolled in school for 3 years or out of high school for 3 years before you can enter the NFL draft. That rule does not apply in the XFL. So we were anticipating, maybe not this year, but in, future years of the league, that playing a big role in, trying to recruit high level athletes out of college and be able to make money. So my question is, and we can start with you, Pastel, do you think that this, proposed rule change by the NCAA is going to affect the XFL down the road in terms of being able to recruit high-level talent early out of college?
It absolutely does, in my opinion, because I did see the XFL as an avenue for some of these college athletes. And one of the names I thought about was kind of somebody like a Justin Fields. Now, he did find another university to accept him based off some allegations about racism at Georgia. But that being said, athletes like him in his freshman year that want to transfer, and they, instead of sitting out a year, why not go to the XFL? If you're a big-time athlete and can make money off your name, go to the XFL. And now that window might be shut for them to go make money off their name. They have to go and they can stay in college and make money off their name instead of going to the XFL.
Yeah, so a couple things there. One, a question out to the group, just for my knowledge, does this include stuff like jersey sales? So, for example, if I'm the quarterback at University of Oklahoma right now, Jalen Hurt, and number 1 jerseys are selling all over the place, like, does it impact that? Or are we talking more of I can basically get not really a job in the sense of the word, but more of I can make money off of doing things because of who I am? Does that kind of make sense?
I believe it's a little bit of both, Gless. I think if they're selling I don't think they're gonna, now the jerseys won't have like I don't know, the jersey thing's different because the number 1 and maybe Jalen's wearing number 1, but other guys at OU have worn number 1.
Kyler Murray wore number 1, so you don't know if it's a Kyler Murray jersey.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's going to have to be ironed out. That's one of the fine details. But to the second part of your question, yes, that is gonna remember when Terrell Pryor a couple years ago was exchanging autographs for free tattoos.
For tattoos, yeah. So
it was this biggest, huge story that was blown out of the water.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to Pastel's point, and I think it's a decent point, and that's one that I thought about when the rule came out, was like, well, that kind of limits the players. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, well, how many players does this really apply to?
Exactly,
right? Like,
yeah.
are these only going to be to like blue chip 5-star guys like Justin Fields, which really, unless, I mean, life really hit them hard, I just don't see them playing in the XFL unless something happens to them in the NFL. So I don't really know if it limits the pool other than just kind of your 1 to 2, maybe a third guy who maybe has fallen on hard times and family, and he's got to go make money now. And I don't know how many of those guys are out there that could play professional football at that level. The other thing, too, is if you leave college early, like, so for example, if I'm a stud freshman, and instead of waiting around another 2 years, I can't make the big payday that I want, and we think the XFL is what we think it's going to be in 2 to 3 years from now. Like, how many guys does that apply to? I guess I'm just not sold that that's going to squeeze the talent pool for the XFL the way I see it today.
When I think of the tier players, like when I heard this rule initially, I didn't think that it was going to affect the kind of guys the XFL would be going after, because I just don't think, like what you were saying, Gless, I don't think that top level, the top tier of players for these prestigious universities are going to be the guys jumping to the XFL. It's going to be the guys that are in like a Kenny Robinson situation, the safety who is drafted by the Battlehawks that was in West Virginia. I think for academic reasons was not on the team anymore. And he said in interviews that his family needed money and they needed money ASAP. So it made sense for him personally. And there's going to be guys like that, but I'm not seeing like, unless it's a strictly financial decision, guys jumping that are, like star quarterbacks for, a prestigious university. Those aren't the guys that I don't think the XFL is going to be targeting anyways. They may want them, but I don't think they're going to be getting those guys to commit to playing the XFL. I think it's going to be more of that second, third tier guys that the XFL is going to be hoping make that early jump that they can then market that way. But I just don't see a correlation how this rule will impact the XFL. This rule annoys the crap out of me. I just, I'm all for capitalism. I'm all for individuals going out and getting what they're worth. But I think this just muddies the water so much even more. I know like things go on under the table. I think back in the back room, deals are made. But I think this just opens the freaking floodgates of players being able to capitalize, and it's just going to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. Kenny, I don't know why you're shaking your head, and like that's something that isn't on the table here.
I mean, what are we talking about? The last 5 years of the NCAA of recruiting, Ohio State, LSU, Alabama, and Georgia, and Clemson have on aggregate been the top five teams in recruiting. Guess who's the top 5 in the NCAA right now? Those 5 teams.
And will be forever if this rule goes into place. You will never have the opportunity.
What's going to change? The last decade has been dominated by Clemson and Alabama. Like, what's the difference at this point? They can't get more. Those 5 schools have taken like 90% of 5-star recruits the last 5 years. And there's like the rest of the NCAA is fighting for the other 10% of 5-star recruits. Like, that's not going to change. What are they going to get the other 10%? Like, that's going to make a big difference? Not really. The
opportunity is just going to shrink even more for these guys. And I just feel like,
I
especially
disagree.
when you look at these teams, like, so say for instance, like Tua in Alabama now has the opportunity to make money on his name. He gets a $500,000 endorsement deal from some booster who runs a car dealership, and Tua's in his commercials. How is that going to sit well with, the middle linebacker on his team that doesn't have any endorsement deals, and is not making a dime off of his name. Like, just the whole, I don't know how it works within the team dynamics is something that worries me as well. And once money gets involved and these guys can hire agents, and agents are, they have one goal, is to get their client as much money and them as much money. No, they're gonna be allowed to hire agents. Yeah, from everything I'm told.
I'm glad about that. I'm glad it's not.
But it's just things are gonna get so out of control.
Yeah. And it is now. If you
I'm with Kenny. I think it's out of control now. It's always been this way. Like, money's always exchanged hands 30 years. I mean, it's been under the table. It's been, essentially, like, who gets caught, right? Yeah. That's what it comes down to, who gets caught.
Snitched
and honestly, those payments will still be illegal under this rule. Right. This is just like if private businesses want to hire you as a spokesperson. I'm with Kenny. I'm actually a huge proponent of this rule. Right. I think it's kind of BS is what the NCAA has done. Now, does it open up Pandora's box? I think that's a great point.
Oh my God, it does.
I don't have enough foresight to see that. Well, give me that. But okay. So 2 things there. 1, give me an example of the Pandora's box that this opens. 1. Second one is, how has that not already been happening for the last 30, 40 years?
See, you're just saying that like you're assuming. I'm not naive. I know that shady stuff happens under the table, but you're acting like it's just like a free-for-all and nobody is regulating at all. It's somewhat regulated. Maybe not to the extent
it's been for 4 games.
Yeah, because someone snitched on him. It's not regulated. Someone ratted him out. That's why.
But there's still a consequence for doing that. And if you don't have any more consequences,
so you think there should be?
I could go to a.
You're telling me you think he should be suspended 4 games? That's a suspendable offense to you?
No, what I'm saying, Kenny,
in your opinion, I know by the rule it is, but in your opinion, borrowing money and then repaying it back is a
Pandora's box is, hey, come do my car commercial, and I'm going to pay you $2 million to do my car commercial. AKA, I'm
just going to give you $2 million. It's just a way for them to slip more money to these guys.
I'd rather it be legal than illegal. I'd rather that be out in the open and out in the light than rather not be.
It's whoever has the biggest boosters will win college football.
And that's already happening. That's already happening. Who are the top?
But that's not how it's always happened. That's not how it's always happened.
Look, 5 years ago, Georgia was kind of a middle of the road to maybe upper tier occasionally SEC team. Now they spend the most money recruiting out of any football program in NCAA football. In the last 5 years, they've turned into an elite football team because they're spending $3 But that's what money.
But that's on recruiting. That's on facilities.
No. That's $3 million they spend each year recruiting, and it's the most in the NCAA. And Brandon's like, well, it's whoever has the most money is going to be competitive. Exactly. That's how it is right now. What's the difference? What is the difference? Whoever has the most money is always going to be the most competitive, no matter if it's legal or illegal. It's always been like that. Let's put a light on it, and let's make it so there's not a bunch of shady things going on, and you don't get suspended for borrowing money to fly your girlfriend out to California to see your bowl game, which you paid that money back. It boggles my mind that is a suspendable offense.
See, for me, like I'm conflicted within myself because like I think stuff like that, Kenny, is ridiculous. Like how just, if you want to fly your family out, they can't. But like just being able to like claim endorsements, and from what I've seen, there's no cap on like how much money these guys can make, which scares the crap out of me because even when it gets down to like Penn State versus, I don't know, even Ohio State. So you're talking about like some donk city in the middle of Pennsylvania and then Columbus, Ohio, a much larger market. It's not going to come down to any more about coaching staff, prestigious of the university, location. It's going to come down to the bottom line. Where can I make the most money? I'm not going to get any money in freaking College Station in Texas A&M. I'm going to make all my money in Austin, Texas. The large market where I can just go to every freaking business and just say, hey, I'm here for sale. Give me money. And there's going to be no regulation on it.
Exactly. So then you should only have those 10 schools that can produce that type of money for those talent and just put them in a separate league. And that way, like the Minnesotas of the world and people like that, these good, heartfelt stories still have a chance because they would never be able to compete for these schools.
But you talk about these heartfelt stories. They're overachieving anyway. What is? And by the way, I'm wearing my PJ Fleck Minnesota gear today. They're overachieving. I
know, I saw that.
They're overachieving anyway. Minnesota has like an average recruiting class of like in the 40s right now. like the last couple of years. It's not.
But
I mean, the 30s and the
even
40s.
schools like Washington, like Glessner, you think once this rule goes into place, Washington's going to be bringing in high caliber recruits when they're competing with USC?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Actually,
or Wisconsin.
Hold on. Time out. To go back in that example, the Huskies spend the most on recruiting in the entire Pac-12. So I think they're going to be fine. They have the largest booster base,
but that's different
from USC.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, but, when you have a large booster base, but you get what I'm saying though.
But they're not. Who's not going where? The 5-star recruits are only going to about 5 or 6 schools right now. Where are they? They're not going to go anywhere else now that they're going to get paid.
But that's not necessarily true. Like Virginia Tech, Michael Vick got them to a national championship. That's one 5-star guy. Tyrod Taylor made them on the national stage, one 5-star guy. Those guys will never go to Virginia Tech ever again once this rule goes into place. You're not going to make any money in Blacksburg, Virginia, when you can go to a larger market, a bigger name program, and make money on your name. It just completely annihilates every other team from ever having a shot.
What's stopping Alabama for saying, hey, Michael Vick, your second year at Virginia Tech, I'm going to pay you twice as much as what Virginia Tech just paid you. Now come to Alabama. Like, why don't you start poaching talent off of
the transfer portal is going to be lit.
Hey, we'll pay you more than that. Wake Forest, I know you got Newman right now, who's the top 5 quarterback probably in the NFL draft next year. Guess what? Come to Alabama, screw Wake Forest, and we'll pay you that much more.
For one, I'd imagine they're probably we're debating hypotheticals in terms of transferring and how that's going to work under that system. We don't know. So I'm sure there's probably going to be some sort of stopgap or something that says, hey, if another team comes in and tries to poach your talent, I'm sure there's either some sort of penalty or some sort of redundant rule that they're going to come in with. I doubt it's just going to be like, hey, we're going to pay you $5 million. Why don't you come over next year? I doubt that's how that's going to go.
I also think that there's only a certain level of monetary funds that's actually available in each of these big time schools, right? Like, for example, they bring in a recruiting class. No. You only realize, a recruiting class is 25 guys, right? A recruiting class is about 25 guys. If I'm at Alabama, I probably have, 15 5-star guys. Okay, so you're going to pay all 15 of them in one recruiting class? When you have another year after that, the talent's going to spread. I don't think it's going to be centralized like even more than what we see now. I just don't see that.
By the way,
we don't know that. I mean, these pockets are deep. These boosters, especially in these big time football schools, are willing to spend whatever it takes. I mean, you've seen these facilities that they've built. They're freaking outrageous. So take that, but actually putting money in players' pockets and then getting, the local communities involved and like making deals with, businesses like, hey, we'll give you this player if he comes, if you agree to give him this amount of money. You're just opening Pandora's box of possibilities and corruption of bringing these guys into these high-level football programs. It is to some extent, but this is just saying, all right, whatever, just do it and make it explode tenfold.
This regulates it. This actually regulates it because there's it's out in the open. It's out in the open, and not only that, the talent's going to disperse to what
it doesn't regulate it. It encourages it, which is like the exact opposite of why people love college football.
No, I do not love college football because they don't get paid. That's not why I love college football at all. And by the way, it's gonna. I think the talent will disperse like
it's not that,
because if I'm the 15th best recruit for Alabama, and I'm number 15, I'm the last guy in, and they're like, hey, we have a descending order of who gets paid, and you're number 15, so you're not quite gonna get what you might get if
you may not get an endorsement at all.
Right, and then I'm going to go,
and
then UNC comes to me and goes, "Hey, you're going to be our number one recruit, and we're going to give you X amount. This is what you're going to be the face of our recruiting class. You're going to be the face of our Sam Howell. You're going to be the face of our program as a true freshman starting quarterback, and you're going to make $500K versus $20K, which you might make."
It depends how deep your pockets are. It depends how much your donors and boosters are willing to pay, because we don't know that. We don't know how much they're willing to pay and how far they're willing to go. But I know one thing, you'll never see Minnesota beat Penn State ever again.
That's not true, because Penn State has a top 10 recruiting class every year, and Minnesota's been in the 40s. But all of a sudden, where's Minnesota going to go? They're going to drop to the 70s now? No. No,
Yeah,
they're going to be in the same
Yeah, except
spot.
the player. Yeah, they'll be in the same spot, but just more of the better players. It's going to be going to these larger universities.
They already do the same. If you look at the recruiting classes in the past 15 years, it's pretty much the same 10 or 15, the top 10 or 15 every year.
So why create this more separation between them?
Because look how much ridiculous stuff goes on with a guy getting kicked off the team because he has a YouTube channel where he's making money. A guy's getting suspended because he got free tattoos. A guy's getting suspended because he flew his girlfriend out.
See, like that kind of stuff, that's just petty BS that I don't agree with,
that's-
and I'm on your
that's
side.
that's the
of it.
majority
I'm
of
talking
what
about when
happens,
you can
though.
make money on your name and the cap is unlimited, where you
But
can
that's-
go out
that's
and
the
make as
majority of
much
what
money as
happens,
you
though.
want and sell yourself.
Signing autographs for $100,000.
Great. He should be able to do that. Why should he not be able to do that? If you can't sign an autograph and make money on your name. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
My thing too is also
That's
like,
the
what
most
about, like,
anti-American capitalist
what about,
thing
like-
I've ever heard.
Oh my God! College football has been this way for hundreds of years, and now
it's
it's
a
all of a sudden
change.
un-American.
What about the players that already
College
in
football is
college?
un-American.
20 years ago.
Everyone, to Kenny Keller.
Go ahead, Pastel. Go
What
good,
about- what about
Pastel.
money
Pastel,
system
go.
is?
What about players already on a college football team, say like a Joe Burrow, who was nothing before this year, and now he's blowing up the college atmosphere with like these out of the world stats? And what if today he's like, you know what? Why is this highly recruit freshman on LSU's team getting paid more than me? Screw this. I'm not playing anymore until I get paid. Like, what about players
I think that is such an extreme example.
I'm just saying,
he's
what I'm
going to
saying-
quit. He's going to
what-
quit being the
what
quarterback
I'm
on a number
saying,
one ranked
what I'm
team.
saying, what about players that weren't highly recruited but turned out to be great talents? They're going to be like, why is this guy getting paid more than me? And it's going to come controversy within the team and also with those boosters saying, hey, I outproduced that guy you just paid, the 5-star recruit, because I'm a 3-star recruit. Pay me.
I don't. Think
I'm saying
that's gonna be
Pandora's
a big-
box
I
is
don't
going to
think-
be crazy.
I don't think that's
man.
going to be a
Every-
big issue. I think you guys are taking that so far to the extreme. It's unbelievable.
Give an inch, take a mile. I mean, that's how it's going to
I-
be, and you know it is. Why won't it be?
Dude, what is going to change? What is changing?
Oh
The
my gosh, you
college
act like
landscape is not
it's
changing.
that. You act like guys are making like,
They are.
millions of
Dude, do you
dollars.
remember-
So
do you remember
okay,
the-
who's
do
making
you
millions
remember
of dollars, Kenny?
Do you remember
Tell me
do you
who's
remember
making
the-
millions
do
of
you remember
dollars right now
the
under
New
the
York
table.
Jets, the New York Jets Hard Knock episode where Joe McKnight, the former running back at USC, who was like the #1 recruit, literally goes on. Yeah, rest in peace. Literally
That's right.
goes on the show and he's like, why is he upset right now? And he's like, because he makes less money playing for the Jets than he made at USC, and he was a 3rd-round pick.
I love that quote, by the way. That's one of my
know.
favorite Hard Knocks episodes.
Dude,
That was
if
so
you
great.
don't think these guys, dude, look at the guy a couple years ago. Who
I'm not
No,
naive,
understand
man.
this.
I know it's
Nick-
happening.
Nick Saban recruited a guy to Alabama.
Hey, no
took a
one's
picture
saying
of-
that's not happening.
You're
saying-
I'm
acting like-
saying
you're
that
acting
it's
like
just going to
gonna be this
explode.
I'm saying
It's,
you
It's
have to
not.
regulate
It's going to be
it, man.
business as usual. There's no
But I
regulation.
think
Hey, Kenny,
I
drug
regulate
happen in
this
America too, but if you don't regulate, then everybody would be high all the time. You still have to regulate it, man.
why are we?
I
Why
think
are we?
it's-
Why do we keep going to these massive extremes? It's not regulated now. It's unregulated now because it's
I
under
think
the table.
eventually what's going to happen is that there will be a dollar amount that you can take for an endorsement deal of any kind, right? They're going to try to regulate it down, and then we'll just see what happens. Because right now it's all hypotheticals. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen.
The world's
All I
burning.
know is
The world's
things
gonna
that-
burn.
the world is
world's
changing.
crashing.
The way things were.
Go hit me.
But what we
Hey,
do
back,
know,
back
fellas.
in my day, we didn't get paid. We went up
right.
and filled both
What-
feet.
But what
Why
we
do you-
do know, fellas, is that we don't think it's going to impact the XFL a whole lot. This ruling, are we
No.
all for?
No,
in
yeah,
that?
it's not.
Yeah,
because,
I don't think it's going to
I
impact
don't
the
Look, hey,
think
hey,
so, but
You know why it's
I-
not? Because in the UFL, quarterbacks made $200,000, and the players made $50,000 in the regular season. This pretty much the same amount
Right, yeah,
we've been
and I
hearing out
think-
of the XFL, and nobody went there.
Exactly, Kenny, because the way that what we're hearing in terms of the payment for players, it's not official yet, so we don't know, but it seems like it's kind of changed over the months, and like it's gone from these tiers where you can make up to like $250,000 if you're in this particular tier to like now it's sounding like most players other than like quarterbacks and maybe a couple other handful of players are going to be making, $55,000 to $60,000, $70,000. So I'm not sure that's going to entice guys to be jumping ship unless they're, really in a financial bind or they don't have any other options that they feel like it's best for them and their family. But like I said at the beginning of this video, I just don't think that that applies to the top tier guys. I don't think you were going to get them whether this rule change goes into effect or not. So
I still think it applies to some people, though. I think we're eliminating a pool of college athletes that it still applies. I mean, there's so many different parts to that. So either, hey, I still want to play. If I'm transferring instead of sitting out a year, I want to go play. I still want to get paid, even if it is $55,000 a year. Or I do want to make money off my likeness. So, like, there's so many different categories. And if it meets all the right criteria for one guy, and you get 3 or 4 guys in college football, I mean, that's 3 or 4 guys that people can associate themselves with college football players now into the XFL.
I mean, my question would be to that, and I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with you, but just playing devil's advocate more or less is, so there's been leagues, the AAF and the UFL, for example, that have paid a similar structure that weren't able to, and the UFL was around for 4 years, so, and they weren't able to attract that. And like, what would make this different in your opinion?
Well, they don't have the same type of, media coverage. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a UFL expert but I heard nothing in the media. They didn't have deals with like an ESPN or Fox where they're being promoted as much as like that other, as the XFL will be. So maybe in that aspect, there's a difference between, not only just the pay, but the exposure that you get by playing in the XFL.
I mean, you're getting exposed on ABC, ESPN, like Fox. I mean, you're getting all these big networks.
But if you're at a big-time football program, there's no difference.
And you're right. But
he plays on CBS.
I'm just saying that's the difference, man, between the UFL and all these other leagues.
Right.
I think the XFL is getting the exposure that these other leagues never got.
Well, so kind of a second devil's advocate question: are you leaving for the exposure, or are you leaving for the pay? Because the pay the alleged pay from the XFL sounds pretty similar.
What I'm saying, Kenny, is there's like 3 or 4 different categories, and if all of those categories meet the right, like they have like the right formula for one player, then you're going to poach 3 or 4 college athletes that say, hey, I need more time to play. I need more money. I need X, Y, and Z to make money off my likeness.
The exposure,
right formula,
that's fair.
Yeah.
I could see a few guys, but I don't think it's going to become the norm, though.
No, it won't.
Like, I agree with you, Pat. So there may be 3 or 4 guys every year that go in the XFL draft where that's actually applicable. But I guess for me, I just don't see it being like we're talking about pay, and if we're just trying to isolate pay, then that's where I don't see this being an impact. But if you're going to mix the other 3, like, all right, I got to pay, I need to pay for stuff for my family. I'm also like a backup and I was a 5-star recruit, or I'm academically eligible as well. Like, that's where I see it coming into play. But if you're just going to isolate pay, I don't see pay being the sole driver behind guys. That's why I don't think there'll be much of an impact.
Okay, so this has gone on far too long. We have to get off here. Yeah. But I mean, it's such a great debate, and it's why it's been a debate for the past decade, guys. It's nauseating, and it's a conversation I frankly don't like having because I see both sides. I really do. Yeah. And there's aspects to the side that Kenny and Gless argue that I agree with, but in the overall scheme, I just can't get behind the idea. But in terms of how it impacts the XFL, I mean, we're going to monitor it. They have a little over a year because they said 2021, right? For the NCAA. Yes. So there's going to be a lot of details coming out surrounding this topic, but I'm interested to see what our viewers think. So comment below. What do you think about the NCAA coming out and saying that they're going to, allow players to make money on their name, on their likeness? And do you think that will impact the XFL and that avenue that they've been, kind of touting and promoting up to this point of being able to recruit guys early out of college that the NFL, based on their rules, can't bring in yet? So leave a comment. We're at XFLChalkTalk.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Check us out on XFLChalkTalk.com, and we will see you next time. What's up, football fans? Visit XFLChalkTalk.com to get the latest analysis, discussions, interviews, and news from around the league. You can also sign up for our email list so you can receive notifications on when content is posted focused on your favorite XFL team.